Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. Today, in episode 184, I'm very happy to bring back my returning guest, Bob Engel. Bob owns and operates Exit the Matrix on Facebook and YouTube, and he's been researching human origins, ancient history, spirituality, and various mysteries since he was back in high school. Bob's aim is to encourage people to expand their minds and to stand strong against the world controllers and their ever expanding tyranny against humanity. To find out more about Bob and his research, the links are featured below in the description. Thank you for subscribing. Leave me a comment and smash that like button. Today, in episode 184, we will take a deep dive into the quantum field. And without any further ado, hi, Bob. Welcome to the Quantum Guide Show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Karen. Thanks for having me again. Looking forward to it.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. And for the listeners and the viewers, you'll see in the description below there's a link to episode 177, where Bob was on the Quantum Guide Show. We really dug quite deep into the origins of humanity and all kinds of interesting subjects, including how Bob got started in all of this. And I really encourage everyone to go and view episode 177, and then you'll get more of a complete picture of the information that Bob brings to the table. So now you're back today, and I'm wondering where you would like to jump in, because it's such a complex bunch of information.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to jump feet first in today on how to truly manifest in this realm. And there's a lot of different ideas out there and different information on how to go about this. I'm sure many people watching this have seen the movie The Secret, or perhaps read the book The Secret. And first off, I just want to say The Secret was a fantastic work. It was very good at awakening some people to this field of understanding that maybe they'd never heard about it before. However, a lot of the teaching in The Secret was kind of I would say the milk of the teaching. It's not really doesn't get into the meat of it. And it kind of did a disservice also to a lot of people, because it started people in thinking about manifestation and how to start interacting with the quantum field. However, it left out key components that you need to actually make it work in this realm. And so real quick, I just wanted to break it down like right off the bat, and then we can kind of go down avenues on how I got here and other references, in ancient times of the same information. But essentially, any manifestation has to start with a thought form. See, we're conscious energy. Essentially, the whole universe is consciousness. Every particle, all the way down to the neutrons, protons, electrons, and even, possibly smaller particles than that we're starting to learn about, through what they're doing with CERN and such. However, all those energy particles are consciousness. So we really live in a type of simulation that's built on conscious energy. And so to start a manifestation, you have to have a thought form, and a thought form is you're thinking about, or you're actually perceiving, something that you want to do. Like let's say in this earth realm, say you're broke all the time and you want to manifest wealth, and you want to know where to start with that. Well, first off, you have to have that thought form of realizing you want to increase prosperity in your life and wealth. And then from there on, you want to start visualizing like what you're actually, what you really truly want. Is this prosperity? Is it more money? Is it maybe you would like to own some land or start a business. Wealth and prosperity can look like different things to different people. And so you got to start visualizing that and using the power of imagination. And all of this was covered in The Secret, these basic steps. And then of course they talked a lot about how you want to go beyond just the imagination, but you actually want to move on to the belief stage, where you actually believe that wealth is coming your way, that prosperity. Now here's kind of where The Secret left off. And this is where I thought it did a great disservice to a lot of people, because you have a lot of these people just thinking, oh, I just have to sit here, build the thought form, imagine it, and believe that I'm already having it, and then it'll come my way. Well, a lot of people got disillusioned by that because they realized that it's not that simple. And here's the most powerful part to that equation that they're leaving out, and that is action. That's energy exchange. See, the true currency of the universe is energy, and energy can take on many forms. It can be intellect, it can be intellectual, like thoughts, or using your mind to come up with ideas and stuff like that. Energy exchange can be labor, hard work, right? And action is also a form of that currency that is an energy exchange. So there's like many different things that you can use to start empowering that manifestation. But the whole point is that you got to act. You can't just sit there and imagine and believe and things are going to manifest. No, you actually have to start investing energy into the quantum field, and the universe will start to respond to that. The quantum field will start moving around the energy the way that it needs to reassemble to make those manifestations happen. And kind of in a real world scenario, what that might look like is this. Let's say you're in a dead end job. You're just all the time working on the hamster wheel. And you get tired of getting caught in that paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. And so you do want to start having these thought forms, and you start imagining how you want to be wealthier and do something. Well, what you need to do is you need to come up with a thought form that is based on something that perhaps you can do. It's a skill you already have. It's a ability you already have, or an art you already have. See, we all come into this realm with our own gifts. And so you really need to start thinking about what those gifts are. And now with that understanding, you can start building that thought form of what is something you can actually do in this realm, that can start that path. And then that's when you got to start using your imagination. Well, how are you going to do it? What are you going to do? So let's say it's starting a business. Okay. What if you think, okay, there's no business out there that I know I can run. Maybe I don't want to run a fast food franchise or this or that. But say you're really good at gardening and you're good at canning stuff. Well, that's a love you have, and it's a skill you already have, and not a lot of people are good at that. So why don't you, as you're imagining this and you're starting to come up with this idea, you're building the thought form, why don't you start looking at that skill and say, okay, well, I have this great recipe. Why don't I produce like 50 jars of this? Maybe you can make a really great jelly or jam out of the fruit from your, that you collect from your property or that you get at farmers markets or the store. And and you're really good at canning. So you come up with a recipe, you start canning a certain jam or something, and then you go to a farmer's market. And this is where the action actually kicks in, because you've already come up with the thought form. You're already imagining how to make that work. And now you're taking action steps towards that. And you're bringing that visualization and that manifestation into reality. And now you start taking your jars to a farmer's market, you start selling it, and you start building up a clientele people. Now you can start giving them out, your Facebook page or your email or your website, and you could start building that clientele. Now you can start shipping stuff to people, and now you can start expanding on that business. And then you do this in your free time. See, a lot of people think like, oh, I work all the time, I'm worn out and I can't. Well, look, if you want to do something extraordinary and you want to get the quantum field to work for you, you've got to step outside your box and start thinking. And that means you have to invest time outside of your regular life, you know? And so you do this in your free time and you get better at it and better at it. And you start building it up. Next thing you know, this starts making you more money than your job you work at. And for a while, it padded your income, right? As you're starting to make extra income, it's starting to free you up. You're starting to gain a little more wealth and prosperity, paying off some debts and stuff. And then you go bigger. You get big enough and you have enough people in your town that enjoy your product, and you're having a source from more areas. And now maybe you have some people helping you jar and can and do all and label and ship. Now you go to grocery stores and you introduce it to them, and maybe you get some local stores to start selling your product. And you see where I'm going here? Like as
Oh,
you
yeah.
keep as you keep investing your energy and your thought forms, you are truly manifesting. You're starting to build that prosperity because you didn't sit on your ass and just hope things would happen. You're actually working and you're investing energy. And see, that's the key.
Yes.
I've realized that that's how you truly hack the matrix. See, you got to get the matrix to work for you because we have dominion over the quantum field. And so many people are disempowered, and we're always in this begging, hoping, praying like state. You know, whenever you are begging and hoping and praying from a lack and from a a shortfall and a shortcoming, and you're begging, it's a negative way to come to the quantum field. And then you're going to and you're begging for more money and prosperity and all that, but you're not investing anything positive into the quantum field. You're giving it negative. So it's going to continue to feed you back negative. And you're going to be in a
Mm-hmm.
spiral where your life it gets harder and harder and harder. But when you're
Mm-hmm.
investing, positivity and positive energy into the quantum field, it's going to open those doorways. It's going to start allowing things to change in your life. And then that's how you truly manifest. And I know a lot of people that in the new age movement, a lot of people don't talk about that, but that's truly what you have to do. You have to take dominion over that quantum field because you are a co-creator with source, with energy, with God, with the creator of all, whatever you want to call that source. And that's how you work with your source given abilities, your creative abilities with the quantum field, which is the energetic makeup of this realm.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to
Um,
jump in or not, but that was kind of a
yeah,
breakdown
I
of
would.
that.
Yeah, no, you put it quite beautifully. So it's not just enough to imagine it. We have to take the steps towards it. And then the
Mhm.
way gets opened up for us. And then we
Yep.
see other options. And sometimes it's not a linear path. It could be quite a wiggly path where we end up doing something else and then something again. I got to tell you, what happened to me recently. I had a wonderful learning experience from the quantum field. So I had very little furniture. I didn't have I wanted a nice big couch system for the living room that would be nice and comfortable. I wanted an electric fireplace. I wanted a bigger desk for my studio. I wanted these different things, and I figured out it would cost me about $10,000. So I wrote on a sticky note, $10,000 and thank you and a heart. This is the actual sticky note right here. I don't know if you can see it or not. Okay. So then I went about just doing all the different things I do to try to, make ends meet and, growing my channels and having a few ads on my on my shows and different things like that. And then all of a sudden, I walked into this used furniture store. Just I was going to look for a stool to put a plant on, and I saw this beautiful couch system, which was everything I wanted and even better, and it was only $250. And of course, I
Mm.
bought it, and I found someone that would bring it home for me. And then for Mother's Day, my son gave me an electric fireplace. And then I realized I had a table that I could set up right beside my desk to make it bigger. I didn't need a new desk. And it was really funny because I didn't get the $10,000, but what I wanted the $10,000 to buy, I got everything better than I even could have imagined it. And it all happened. And then one day I'm sitting here at my desk and I look at my note that says $10,000, thank you. And I went, oh my God, I got my $10,000, but it didn't look the way I expected it to look, and it didn't come about in a way that I expected to come. And then I realized that I needed to share my creation in more of a co-creation with the simulation. I also totally believe we live in a simulation.
Mhm.
And because I needed to not make it too concrete on how my manifestation would come about and what it would look like exactly. And I just let the universe give me what I ultimately wanted. So, quite often, when I think I want money, I hear a voice inside that says, what do you want the money for, Karen? Be more specific. Because what I really
Mm.
want is this, that, and the other thing, which is what
Mhm.
I would use the money to buy it with. But what I actually wanted was, the objects or the experience or whatever. So the universe is teaching me all the time as I practice harnessing the field and hacking the matrix, for as you say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And something you mentioned there that I didn't mention in that, bringing that thought form into reality is writing. When we take a thought form and we put it down on canvas or on paper or on your computer, your typewriter, whatever, you know, different types of ways that people can take those thoughts and actually bring them physically into this realm. That also helps empower that quite a bit. So the fact that you wrote that note, and also I could tell that you were being very respectful to the quantum field, which is something that I've realized too. See, there's a fine line between begging the universe to help you out, to do things for you, and there's or being, you want to show dominion, but you also want to show respect, and I think if you're demanding, you're going too far to the other end of the spectrum too. I think begging and demanding, you're missing the mark. You need to find that balance in the middle where you're being respectful, but however, you're taking dominion because you are a sovereign entity. You're a co-creator. Your conscious energy. You're experiencing the realm. However, you are part of the all. So you have a certain amount of dominion over the quantum field, and I think that's a key component too. And so you touched on a few of those things I didn't quite detail. So thank you.
Yeah, a lot of people, they treat the universe or even God, because to me, God is everything all at once. It's a
Mhm.
united universal consciousness of which
Mhm.
I'm a part of. Everything is a part of that. And that also makes up the field. But a lot of people treat it like Santa Claus, like a letter to Santa Claus. I want this and I want that, and I want this and I want that. And or even in their prayers, the only time they talk to God or to universal consciousness is to say, here's my list of things I want to do, like a honey-do list. And I think that that's missing the boat too. I spend a lot of time in what I would call meditative prayer, where I'm just giving thanks to the great gratitude I feel for the bounty I already have. Like, for instance, the other night I was lying in bed and I was good. And I went, oh my God, my pillow is so comfortable. This is the most comfortable pillow I ever had. And I realized my bed was so comfortable, and I realized I had no aches and pains. I felt
Mhm.
completely okay and calm and peaceful. And I lived in a neighborhood where there was no war and there was no fighting and there was no obvious
Mm.
crime. And I just started letting my imagination go to let the quantum field know how much I appreciated and recognize all that I already have. Because ultimately, I used to ask for money and then I thought, but what is money? If I had $10 million right now, what would I buy with it? I already have peace. I already have the most comfortable bed I could ever imagine. I already feel good in my body. Of course, I work towards it, but that's another story. I um I already have a peaceful neighborhood. Already have a freezer full of really good food I can't wait to explore and get into and consume. Like I already have everything, and it's not that I don't want more, but sometimes I have trouble thinking exactly what is it that I would like because I already have so much. Anyway, I didn't mean to take away the conversation. I was just saying that I think it's a problem to just think of the universe as just giving it your list all the time of what you want, and people forget to look at what we already have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think gratitude is a positive way to think, and it's a positive way to think the universe, the quantum field, for the blessings you do have. So yeah, I think everything you were saying there absolutely ties into this perfectly, and respect, you know, because you got to realize that the quantum field is consciousness also, and it wants to work with you. Um, and like you mentioned earlier, sometimes it doesn't always come in a straight way. It can come in different ways that you might not expect. It could be an opportunity that comes out of nowhere that you weren't even expecting, or a windfall that comes out of nowhere, and it happens to get you out of debt or something when you needed it most, but you weren't expecting it. And that's because you got to realize too, when you are interfacing with the quantum field, it takes a while for those energy particles to reassemble. And because we know string theory, we know that particles are connected from one end of the universe to the other, so they can act pretty rapidly. But however, you're having to move a lot of different parts and thought forms around, you know when you're especially when you're doing something drastically different with your life. You're Imagine how much has to change in the quantum field from your regular basis of life at that point. um, so it can take a while. You got to hold that belief, you got to hold that thought form, and you got to keep investing energy, into it, and investing your thoughts and positivity. And so they did touch on that in The Secret, that it doesn't happen instantaneously, that there is a waiting period for things to happen, for things to manifest. And that is because it's kind of a stopgap that was created in this realm. Because here's the thing, Karen, and I'm sure you've delved into NDEs and OBEs quite a bit too. I love researching NDEs and OBEs because it helps me tie this realm in with the realm we come from. And it actually, as above, so below, it starts to make a lot of sense to me. And one thing that's interesting, that NDEs experiencers always talk about is that when they're in the other realm that we come from, our true home, they say manifestation is instantaneous there. You can take on whatever avatar you want to take on, past life appearances. You can show yourself however you want, and it's instantaneous. You can warp around, you can move around in that realm instantaneously just by your thoughts, by, like when people see the light in the distance, a lot of times it's only when they think, hey, I want to be where that light is. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's like they say, it's like they're on a super fast, like one of those, at the airport, they have those little like platforms that move, those like elevators on the ground, that movie From One End of a Terminal to Another. They say it's like that, but it's like you just go super fast. Or it's instantaneously, just like in the blink, you've already gotten to that point, to that location. And so in that realm, we don't need for anything, because you manifest everything you want or need or desire instantaneously. So the stopgap is in this realm, because this realm was created so we experience polarity and at least the illusion of a physical form, that of the light and the dark, and of the different gender, negative and positive, the masculine and feminine. Because of all these things we experience in this realm, manifestation has a protection on it where we can still manifest in this realm, but there's different rules to the game here. And one of them is that manifestation is not instantaneous, because let's look at it this way. Let's say you get really mad at somebody, some guy cuts you off when you're driving home, and you get worked up because, I mean, he almost hit your car. You had to slam on the brakes. You almost hit another car. And so you may lose your cool at that point, and you may give that person a certain finger and say, I wish I wish that they're going to get into a wreck. Now, if we were living in a realm like the other realm where it's instantaneous manifestation, that guy just goes and wrecks. And now you're going to feel really bad because you just hurt that person because you manifested that action to happen. And we have that power in the other realm, but it has to be stopgaps in this realm because in this realm, it's not pure love and light. There is the polarity. There is a war on between good and evil, like light and dark. It's part of the game. That it's what adds the experiences that we don't get experienced in that other realm. So there is a certain amount of time when manifestations take to happen. And I want to be honest too about this, because we're talking about positive things, right? Well, I did mention that we're in a realm of light and dark, of positive and negative. So you have to be careful, because you can do dark magic on people too, which is negative manifestation. And so, you got to be aware of that too, that we have the ability to do that, and we can harm other people too. So, sometimes if you're harboring really negative thoughts about somebody and you hold on to that for a long time, it can start manifesting. So
Yeah,
people
I
need to
got
be sorry, go ahead.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're
A,
good.
a classic example that I have seen is people who gossip and spread rumors. They don't realize there's an energetic effect to that. That is dark spell casting. When
Mm-hmm.
we spread rumors, we gossip about people, that's very, very negative. And the energy doesn't just go out to the person that we're gossiping about. It also comes back and affects us,
Yep.
because
Yep.
as above, so below. And a lot of people don't think of it that way, and they don't think about the consequences, to their actions. And another thing I wanted to say while I was listening to you is the word, the word, oh, sorry. Um, Contrast, the word
Mm-hmm.
contrast. Contrast makes our lives
Mm-hmm.
lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And without the contrast, if we just got everything we wanted, it wouldn't be satisfying the way it is when we put effort into the things that we want. And sometimes what we think we want, once it starts manifesting, we go, oh, this doesn't look or feel the way I thought it was going to. And then you start trying to shut it down. And then you start manifesting something else. And I call that energetic littering, where we're bringing in these half manifested realities and then shutting them down before they come into fruition. But I think everything we manifest has the potential to teach us something, and that we should have patience and let it come to fruition and see what the lesson is. And then the other thing too, I'm wondering if you can speak a bit to the word faith, because for me, faith is the assured expectation that the thing that I really desire is coming. I just have to be patient and do everything I can to help it to manifest. What's your thought on that, Bob?
Yeah, I kind of put believing, in the same line of faith, but I think faith maybe goes a step beyond believing, and as well as I do, like in the word magic, the way our words are designed, the English language and stuff. You have the word lie within believing, so you got to be careful about believing, because sometimes you're actually believing a lie, and it's hidden in there somewhere. So yeah, I think maybe faith is even a better description of holding on to that fact that the manifestation is going to eventually unroll, or unravel, or manifest. So Yeah, absolutely. Faith. But faith, but even faith can be, depending on how you're using faith, it can be negative too. I mean, if you have absolute faith in a cult, maybe you joined, and you think this leader of the cult is like the next coming of God, and he's probably really doing some sick stuff that, taking advantage of people behind the scenes, but you're kind of buying into the false, facade that he's put up, and so you put all your faith in this person that they're, going to do great good for you and all that. So I mean, even faith sometimes can be a type of manipulation, or it can be a type of propaganda too. So, but if you have faith in a totally positive endeavor, and it's something that you've been working towards, and you're taking that dominion over the quantum field, and you're continuing to uphold that understanding that it's going to manifest, then that type of faith is a positive thing.
Yeah. Yeah, everything seems to be context sensitive, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Depends on
Absolutely.
our intention. Now, I'm just thinking this would be a good spot for me just to take a short promotion break, 2 minutes. When we come back, Bob, I wanted you to segue into some of the other points that you wanted to cover today, because the show has just gone by so fast because it's so interesting. But we'll be right back. Hi guys, break time for a short message. YouTube will not monetize me, so if you enjoy my content and want to support my efforts, help me to cover my expenses by visiting my shop to buy yourself a beautiful orgone generator. Zendome's Orgonite are my unique brand, and they are ethically sourced, handmade, and double charged for maximum effect. They are only available through my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. Many people are finding comfort with Zendome's orgone generators, commonly called Orgonite. They are a simple compound which balance ambient energy by converting negative energy and EMF into positive healing energy with many easily confirmed health benefits. They are a simple compound with alchemic and energetic properties. These devices function as self-driven, continuously operating, highly efficient, negative to positive energy transmutation factories. They help diminish the harmful effects of electromagnetic frequency radiation by attracting and converting negative energies, retuning them into new and more healthful sound and light wave patterns, and they help to purify the atmosphere and accelerate plant growth. They also help stimulate positive mood and are a natural remedy for poor sleep patterns. When Orgonite is within range of any corded or wireless electronic device, it will efficiently and continuously transform that energy into orgone as it is being transmitted. This essentially creates orgone energy transmitters out of any and all emitters of harmful negative energy. You can use these devices for focusing the mind, healing, meditation, and for spiritual growth. Zendome's Orgonite are my unique brand of orgone generators, and they are only available through my website. Don't be fooled by imitations. Check out my website to see my latest selection at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. That's KarenHolton healthcoach.com. Check them out today. Now, let's get back to the show. And we're back. So, I guess I'm going to turn it back over to you, Bob, and you can take us wherever you want to go. We've got another half an hour to the show. Please feel free to continue if you want to keep talking about manifesting. It's a really important skill. I've come to the point where I use it sparingly because I automatically find that my life goes the way universal consciousness wants it to go for me to have maximum learning. And I know that it's not going to be completely cushy and easy at every step because, as I mentioned before we went on the break, contrast seems to be a really important part of the Earth experience. But anyway, I'll turn it back over to you, Bob.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, uh, just real quick before I move on here, it's funny because a lot of people that have NDEs, they always say like when they're out of body and their spirit guides or Yeshua or whoever comes and meets them or family when they cross over, they say that once they're there, they're like, I don't want to go back. Earth's so hard, I want to stay here, because they always say that you get a choice, if you're on that point where the body can go or they can revive it, that and there's probably a little bit of help from the other realm on some of those people that are able to go back to their bodies. But the people that cross over always like, they don't even care like what family they have, like how things are going, their career. They want to stay on the other side because it's so wonderful there, and you're like in a pure love state, because you're not separated by at least the illusion of separation from source. So they say it's like the most loving realm you can experience, and they can imagine coming back to Earth. But then they said the curious thing though is that when they're going to that realm, they see a long line of people, and they always ask their spirit guides or whoever they're with, what is that line of people? And they're always like, well, that's the line to go back to Earth to reincarnate. And it's always odd to these people because they're like, here I am, I want to just stay here, I don't want to go back to Earth. So why are so many spirits jumping in line to go back to Earth? And the reason is I think because, look, when it's just pure love and light all the time and pure manifestation, and you don't need anything, maybe we get bored. I mean, that may sound like a base human way of thinking, but I mean, there's got to be something to do with that, because I mean, there's apparently a never-ending long line of spirits wanting to incarnate back on Earth, even though most of them have already been on Earth and experienced what it's like here and how hard it is, and experienced the duality and the whole struggle between the higher self, the spirit, and the lower self, the beast, the carnal self, the lower vibrational human body. You're always in that battle between those two polarities, and
Mm-hmm.
and yet we still choose to come here. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
we like the torture, because it's torturous sometimes, but this realm can be every extreme. It can be the most amazing thing, and it can be the most dreadful thing at the same time.
Yep. Yep.
Sometimes in the same day you experience both polarities.
I agree. I think sometimes people want to come back because they have regrets or they have unfinished business, which
Mhm.
is another reason why I want to lead a self-examined life so that I can have as much peace to move on, without regrets at the end of my life. But I think also people want to come back and help. People want to come back and fix the timeline and assist other people. After a while, you stop thinking about yourself and what you want. You realize you pretty well have everything you want. That's one of the gifts of getting older. You realize that, but also, to be in service to others
Mhm.
is really a great joy. Just a great joy when we step out of that the selfish inclinations, and we want to step forward. So that's what I suspect. And but
Mhm.
I also think that if we're really done with being here, we can move on to another creative realm,
Mhm.
perhaps, and I don't know, help out there. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm not an expert.
Yeah, I mean, according to a lot of these NDEs, and I don't know if you've ever what's his name? Something Wright, Jeremiah Wright or Jeremy Wright. Anyways, there's this guy that he's been having like controlled out of body experiences since he was like 13, 14, 15. And he's so good at it. He's been mapping the other side outside of this realm. And, and he talks about how there's just creation is just never ending. There's so many realms and worlds that we can experience and, that we can go to if we want to in different incarnations and stuff. But I guess Earth is like one of the main classrooms that you come to. That I guess the polarity on Earth is more advanced than on any other world. There's a lot of worlds that are just mostly positivity, and everybody lives in peace and prosperity and in like together as one, in a collective, and you don't have all the competition. But he says spirits learn the most from coming to earth realm because it is like a classroom. It is so extreme in the polarities and in the the different things that we experience here, the negative and the positive, the good and the evil and such. And the negative and or the sorry the masculine and feminine, we all have a percentage of masculine and feminine in each of us. So even within our own selves, we have a little bit of a struggle between those two polarities, and I think obviously finding a balance between them is the best way to go. So yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. The other thing I wanted to mention is I don't know why, or maybe this is just normal. I learn from my mistakes. And Bob, have I made a lot of mistakes? I almost do everything wrong or get everything wrong until I figure it out and start getting it right. But what a wonderful way to learn, you know? And if we were in a land of peace and love all the time, we probably wouldn't have that option of making mistakes and the great learning that comes from it. And there's a great emphasis on us trying to do everything perfectly. You know, when you go to school, you
Mhm.
have to do it perfect or you don't get an A. And an A is considered better than a B, which is supposed to be better than a C. At least here in Canada, that's how they grade students. But
Mhm.
if you don't make the mistakes, how are you ever going to really learn anything? You're just memorizing the false matrix or the template they're giving us. And I don't think we have as much soul evolution as if we can
Mhm.
actually fall and get back up. And I notice even with my kids, you know, with your kids, you can't always save them and do everything for them. You got to
Mhm.
let them make their mistakes and let them fall and get back up. And they become stronger and wiser as a result. So that's why I think even though we know how to manifest, we don't make it this perfect rosy realm because that's not what we're here for. So I would agree with all the things you said, Bob.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the greatest books I ever read is by an author named John C. Maxwell called "Failing Forward." You know, it just that's how you grow the most is from failing. A lot of millionaires and billionaires get that way because they had multiple businesses fail and they have to learn from each of those failures and and rebuild from bankruptcy or whatever. And they and Robert Kiyosaki talks a lot about that too. And
Yes.
sorry, not make trying to make this an economical thing, but there is a lot to be said about that you do need to make mistakes and fail. And see, and that's why I've never bought into the creator of all as being a judge, a god of judgment, because obviously God understands that we're incarnating in a realm of duality and that we all fall short, we all commit sin, we all fail, we all make mistakes. And so a truly loving God is not going to send you to hell over something like that, or wipe out your soul or whatever, and um just I guess a little thing I had to mention there that one of the things I don't buy into with religion, religion has a lot of great positive things it can do for people, but it a lot of times the good teaching gets mixed in with a lot of fear-based mind control tactics also.
Oh,
So
I agree. I agree. And I think at best, this is just my personal opinion. I'm not trying to put it over on anyone else, but I think at best religion is like training wheels. And once you can ride without your training wheels, You don't need anybody to tell you don't steal, don't hurt anybody, don't cheat, don't lie. You don't need to be told that. You just don't do it because you know life is so much better when you do things on the straight and narrow. So
Yeah.
I myself have given up on religion, and I found it really confusing how you can go to one church and the church across the street changes the belief, and both claim to be the only way to find the true God. And I realized that all of them just are like little pieces of a puzzle. I wanted the whole puzzle, I wanted the whole thing. And
Mhm.
there's an interesting saying that says a religious person goes to church and thinks about fishing, but a spiritual person goes fishing and thinks about God.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Yeshua is trying to teach us all those things. I've always been a great respecter of Yeshua, our brother, you know, from source. And unfortunately, he was a master teacher and mystic, and he learned many different teachings, vast teachings from the mystery schools in Egypt all the way to the Far East. As far as Buddhism and Hinduism, and he learned with the Druids in parts of Europe too, because he traveled the world with his rich uncle Joseph of Arimathea, who was one of the richest men in the world at the time. And so Yeshua traveled the world, and he tried to bring all those teachings into a single, simple teaching of love, and that we are one with the Creator, and that we can access that Creator anytime we want, and that the kingdom of heaven is within. And through time, religion and all that try to take all those teachings and box it all back up, in a thought, fear-based type of teaching, to control the populace. But hey, Karen, how much longer do we have? Because there was one thing I did want to touch on before we go. um
Well,
I
we got about a good 10 minutes, so go
Okay,
ahead.
okay. So if you don't mind, there was one thing, because I always like to tie things into ancient teachings. And I believe our ancestors for thousands, maybe tens of thousands of years, have been trying to teach us a lot of these, the ancient secrets and wisdom about the true nature of this realm and this world. And and a lot of those teachings have been passed down through the mystery schools for thousands of years. And of course, I know religion will teach you a lot of that is evil. However, all like the hermetic teachings, the laws, all of the hermetic laws were just basically ancient teachings of how the quantum field works and how we interface with it. One of my favorite cuneiform tablet stories that I've read before and I've studied multiple times is called Inanna's Descent into the Underworld. I'm not sure if you've read that or heard of that before.
I'm not really familiar with it, no.
Okay, well, if you ever get a chance, look it up. It's I like to delve into a lot of the cuneiform, the ancient Sumerian, Akkadian, and Babylonian. Some of it's Hittite and Assyrian. It's not just one, culture that wrote in cuneiform. However, so Inanna, you may know her in the Bible as Ishtar, and
Yeah,
that's actually what the true Easter is based off of the worship of Ishtar. She was the goddess of love, fertility, and warfare. And
she's uh she's mentioned in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and I love the
yes,
Epic of
yep,
Gilgamesh. I've listened to the audio recording of it several times.
yep. She was
Mhm.
one of the highest ranking Anunnaki in the Anunnaki pantheon of gods, which that's little g gods, I'll say. Um, but yeah, you'll find her in a lot of the ancient stories. So there's this story called Inanna's Descent into the Underworld. Now, this story is in an allegorical form, and I've found that it has multiple allegorical meanings. And one of them is actually interesting because it kind of ties in with the resurrection of Yeshua, also off of the cross. Believe it or not, you'll find some of that story in Inanna's story. But essentially, what the story is, to kind of do the quick Reader's Digest version, is that Inanna Ishtar, her her sister's husband dies. Well, her sister is the queen of the underworld. Her name's Erishkigal. And her husband passes away. So Inanna decides that she's going to go down and talk to her sister and attend the funeral and, and be there to support her. Well, these two sisters had a lot of rivalry between each other, and that kind of plays out in the story later on. But Inanna shows up at the gates to the underworld, and Inanna's like just bedecked in all of her finery. She's got beautiful clothing on. She's got weapons. She's got special jewelry that has like special powers, like magical jewelry and magical, like, she's got all these things on her. Because she's the queen of heaven. She's got all of these special powers and abilities and such, and so when she shows up there, the attendants that the guards of the gate to the underworld, they go and they tell, Inanna tells her, go tell my sister I'm here to come see her, and so they go tell Erishkigal this. Well, Erishkigal is probably going through mourning, and she's upset, and she's got a major rivalry with her. I believe it's her sister, maybe her cousin. I can't remember exactly, but anyways, so she decides to kind of mess with Inanna. So she's like, okay, well, let her come through, but there's different gates that you go down into the underworld. And at each gate, she tells her guards, don't let Inanna pass until she sheds one of her garments or one of her special trinkets or, or weapons or whatever that she has with her. And so at each gate, they tell Inanna, look, you got to get rid of one thing off of your person and before you can proceed. And so she goes through all these gates, and they continue that until she basically arrives at the last gate. She has to take off her robe. She enters in to the underworld completely naked with none of her stuff. All of her magical trinkets are gone. Her clothing, her weapons, everything are gone. And she has to come face to face with her sister or her cousin. Like I said, I think it's her sister, but I could be wrong. Might be her cousin. But so she's just completely naked, has lost all of her abilities, and she comes to her, and then her sister basically kills her, has her killed, which is like, wow, really? After all that, then she kills her, and so they hang her body on this wooden post, almost similar to a cross. And for 3 days, her body hangs there. Well, her attendant goes and gets help. Her attendant goes and like is trying to find somebody to go into the underworld to rescue her because she hasn't showed back up. She was only supposed to be down there, I guess, for a day, and it's been 3 days. And so she goes through all these Sumerian gods that are the Anunnaki gods, and she goes to each of them. Will you help? No. Will you help? No. Eventually, the one god Enki, who is known as the serpent in the Garden of Eden, she goes to him, and he's like, okay, I'll fashion this creature to go, retrieve her out of the underworld, And so anyways, there's a whole story about that. But essentially the allegory of the story is that you can look at it as our journey, our hero's journey that we go on to come to earth from that realm we come from into this realm. That when we're born, we're like born naked as a baby, right? And into this realm. But as we come from that realm to this realm, we lose all of those abilities that we all have with that when we're in that realm, telepathy, instant healing, energy healing, all these, instant manifestation, all of these powers we have as creators, as literal gods, sons and daughters of God that we have. And as we come to this realm, we shed all of those abilities, and we forget them and we lose them. And then here we are, we're born into this realm naked as a baby, as a jaybird, so to speak. And we don't know where we came from. We forgot all of that stuff. And we don't know that. And some people can redevelop some of those abilities or reawaken them. And some people are born with some of those abilities, but most of us come into this realm with none of those abilities, you know, and so I found it to be an interesting allegorical story. Now, the part that kind of hinted at the whole resurrection was that her body is taken back up to the above ground, out of the underworld, and she's resurrected. In 3 days, she's resurrected from her death while she's hanging on this cross, and then she gets resurrected when she's brought back out of the underworld, which is kind of interesting because Yeshua was hung on the cross. He was, dead for 3 days, and then he came out of the crypt, back out and was resurrected into life. And so
Mhm.
it's kind of an interesting story. I'm not saying that that's based on Inanna's descent. However, a lot of religions took from a lot of those ancient stories and incorporated that in with their teachings. And
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting. And some people have even said sometimes when you die, like a full death where you're not going back, there is like a 3 day period of before you actually fully resurrect in the realm we come from. It's like a
Mhm.
process of like getting you ready to arrive back at your home.
Mhm.
And they say that that's 3 days. So there's a lot of allegories written into that story that's very interesting, but
It
to
is.
me,
It is.
that's how I pictured it. So
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. It's interesting that a lot of these ancient stories and allegories and stuff, they're very similar. And, everything from the many, many accounts of the flood in every culture. There are other men who were enlightened, who were born of a virgin, who were died when they were 33, spent 3 days. Even the sun itself spends 3 days where it's kind of
yep,
dead and then comes back. So I
the
think
spring
this is
equinox.
just,
Yep.
yeah, many, many different ways to show us simple truths that if we have the eyes to see and the wisdom to gather those kernels, that throughout time, even the Aboriginal groups have their stories and teachings. And I think it's basically kind of almost foolproof, because no matter when we're
Mhm.
born or where we're born or what culture we're born into or what our skin tone is or whatever, we've got access to the things that teach us what we need to know. So I've really enjoyed having you on the show today, Bob. I'm hoping you'll come back again, maybe in a couple of months, and share more of your wisdom with us, because you've done so many deep dives. I'm wondering right now, though, if you want to share with the listeners and the viewers what you're up to. Tell them all about your Facebook group. I find it super interesting, the posts that you do in Facebook, and anything else that would benefit the listeners and the viewers.
Yeah, just like you mentioned, my main platform is on Facebook. And Facebook has kind of given us a little breathing room. So it's been nice. I've been able to actually get a little bit of monetization, and they've allowed my reach to expand again. And that was after almost 3 years of being completely limited to no growth, no monetization or anything, So it's been getting a lot better over there. They've been giving me a little more lead, it'd be a little easier on me. I'll just put it that way. And then I've got a fledgling YouTube channel I've been working on, and Rumble and some other platforms. But ultimately, I just want people to understand, like, look, you are a co-creator with Source. You're here for a reason. You chose to come here. And no, you're not going to go to hell. You're not, heaven is the true realm we come from. Hell is only what we make of it. And some people manifest that when they cross over because they believe in it so strongly. But then they realize after they escape it that it was all that they created it. It was never set for them to go there. And I just want people to take heart in that and understand, look, you interface directly with the quantum field. You can change your life. You can do great things. You just have to believe in yourself and take that dominion and invest the energy and the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And thank goodness there's people like you to share your wealth of knowledge and how to go about doing that, how to exit the matrix, how to have a true life, a more full life. And I believe that's our birthright for every single one of us. So thank you very much for coming on the show today, Bob. Thank you for all the viewers and the listeners. And again, in the links below will be all of Bob's contact information, where you can find him. Episode 177 of the Quantum Guide Show, so you can learn more. And I guess that's about it for today. So I'll just thank you all for joining me, and we'll see you next week on the Quantum Guide Show. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for joining me for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube and other channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton, and also the Aliens and Angels podcast on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.